This is Papabrad's Gaming coming at you with some Atari games that I love. Starting off with Atari's best-selling original game of all time, Yar's Revenge. This is the best-selling Atari game that was an original game, made by Howard Scott Warshaw. Up next, we have Mega Man. This is a great shooter. One thing that makes this great is that the bullets are steered. When you move your ship, you steer the bullets. This game is very addictive. The enemies keep changing types. The patterns change. Up next, I have the incredible port of Stargate. This game makes up for the flickering mess that Defender was. And this is a game I just really love. It was released near the end of the Atari. Pac-Man on the Atari 2600 sucks, but then there's Jawbreaker, which is a fun game. I like this game. Just picked up a actual cart of it in a recent video, but this is one I've played quite a bit through emulation. We got the classic Atari game Berserk, 1982. I mean, who doesn't love this game? Now, I do have the version that speaks as well. Demon Attack was another great shooter. It just switches up the enemy types. I mean, these are all kind of precursors to, the shoot 'em up genre that I love so much. You've got the Pac-Man game that is good on the Atari 2600. It was released too late in the system's cycle. By the time this game was released, Atari was on its way out. They finally made a great Pac-Man game. One of my all-time favorites, by far, is Activision's Hero. This is just a masterpiece. This is a fun game. I love this game. Have not been able to pick up a physical copy. Not found a copy yet, but I love this game. I can't play it on the At Games. This is Atari Warlords. This is the first paddle game. One of two paddle games that made the cut. This game is really a multiplayer game. You have to play this multiplayer to really enjoy what the game offers. Up next, I got Frostbite. This is kind of like a crazy, you jump on these ice drifts and it builds an igloo. There's also a polar bear that tries to get you. This game is very similar to Q*bert. It's a cool original game on the Atari from Activision. This is basically Tempest done Atari style. This is called Turmoil. It's a 20th Century Fox game. A little bit harder cartridge to find. In the later levels, it gets very frantic, very crazy. We got the excellent arcade port of Jungle Hunt. Another great Atari game that I love. This game was changed in the arcades from Jungle King because of the Tarzan license. So, of course, I gotta put Q*bert on here. Q*bert plays pretty good for the Atari 2600, considering. Any serious Atari roundup of the best games on Atari has to include Pitfall. And I'm actually including both games as one. I really consider them just one game. Pitfall is the original, and Pitfall 2 just kind of continues the story. Dig Dug was a great cartridge for the Atari 2600. It's amazing that they were able to get any version of this game to work, but this game, actually, the gameplay is really fun. Don't let the graphics fool you. Montezuma's Revenge is an early platformer. Has been ported to the iiRcade. Very fun on the Atari 2600. Centipede, to me, is a great game. The gameplay is what makes this game so good. Don't let the ship graphics fool you. This really does feel like Centipede. It's a very fun shooter. The game I always come back to is combat. I mean, playing this game with two live players is always fun. Steering your bullets into the other player, it's a classic. The other paddle game that made the cut, of course, is the awesome Kaboom from Activision. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. Playing this game with the real Atari paddle controls is a joy. Another early shoot 'em up would be River Raid. River Raid really is, to me, one of the top Atari games. This game I had to include. This is actually a homebrew, Princess Rescue. Very cool game. I do think Atari Age released it. It's basically Mario Brothers on Atari. It's just fun to play. Missile Command, a classic Atari game. Really amazing gameplay considering the limitations of the Atari. Very fun, very addictive. A game that I always come back to. Asteroids is in my very top games. My grandfather had this as a kid, and that's where I got to play it the most. He had a summer camp, and we would play Asteroids the whole time we were there. He had no TV, but he had a TV set, and he had Asteroids. So we could play Asteroids at his summer camp. That was pretty cool. And the number one game for me on the Atari is, of course, Space Invaders. This game was the killer app for the Atari. Hope you enjoyed this video. That sums up some of my favorite Atari games.